The move the pawn to c4 by white is an inaccuracy. A superior alternative was the pawn to e4, claiming key space in the center, paving the way for the pawn to c5, significantly boosting piece coordination, which enables the knight to f3 to organize the counteroffensive seamlessly, whereby the pawn to e6 secures an overwhelming positional advantage, unlocking the pawn to d4 with highly aggressive threats. Continuing with the pawn on the c-file takes on d4, compromising the opponent's pawn structure. Black responds symmetrically, maintaining the dynamic balance. A solid and accurate move, keeping the position equal. White develops the knight to a flexible square. A solid move, preserving the positional equality. Black develops the knight, preparing to contest the center. Solid play, maintaining equality. White fianchettos the bishop. A solid move, consistent with hypermodern central control principles. Black develops the bishop to a central diagonal. Solid, maintaining the dynamic balance. White fianchettos the bishop, reinforcing the kingside. Solid, maintaining equality. Black castles, securing the king. Solid and accurate play, keeping the balance. White advances the e-pawn, claiming central space. A solid move, maintaining equality. The move the pawn to c6 by black is a mistake. A superior alternative was the bishop takes on c3, instantly capturing the target to simplify the board. Afterwards, the pawn on the b-file takes on c3 executes a favorable trade, which enables the pawn to c6 to organize the counteroffensive seamlessly, whereby the knight to e2 secures an overwhelming positional advantage, unlocking the pawn to d5 with highly aggressive threats. Continuing with the pawn on the c-file takes on d5, compromising the opponent's pawn structure. White repositions the knight, preparing for central play. Solid, maintaining white's slight advantage. Black contests the center with a pawn push. Solid play, but white maintains the slight advantage. White captures the central pawn, opening lines. Solid, maintaining white's advantage. Black recaptures, maintaining central tension. Solid, the advantage remains with white. White recaptures with the knight, increasing central control. Solid play, enhancing white's advantage. Black exchanges knights, simplifying the position. Solid, but white's advantage persists. White recaptures, establishing central pawn presence. Solid, consolidating the advantage. Black develops the bishop actively. Solid play, though white holds a slight advantage. White castles, securing the king and connecting rooks. Solid, maintaining the slight advantage. Black repositions the knight, improving its scope. Solid, white's advantage remains. White prepares queenside expansion with a pawn move. Solid, maintaining white's slight advantage. Black develops the bishop to a good square. Solid play, white maintains the slight advantage. White pushes the d-pawn, aiming for central space. Solid, increasing white's slight advantage. Black activates the rook on the open file. Solid play, but white's advantage is clear. White centralizes the bishop. Solid, consolidating the clear advantage. The move the knight to b6 by black is a severe blunder. A superior alternative was the pawn to e4, claiming key space in the center, paving the way for the knight to c3, significantly boosting piece coordination, which enables the rook to e8 to organize the counteroffensive seamlessly, whereby the queen to b3 secures an overwhelming positional advantage, unlocking the queen to b6 with highly aggressive threats. Continuing with the queen takes on b6, compromising the opponent's pawn structure. White captures the pawn, simplifying into a winning position. Solid, maintaining the clear advantage. The move the bishop takes on e5 by black is an inaccuracy. A superior alternative was the bishop to c2, exerting diagonal pressure to limit the opponent's space, paving the way for the queen to d4, significantly boosting piece coordination, which enables the bishop to c5 to organize the counteroffensive seamlessly, whereby the queen to d2 secures an overwhelming positional advantage, unlocking the knight to c4 with highly aggressive threats. Continuing with the queen takes on c2, compromising the opponent's pawn structure. White places the knight on a strong outpost solid, consolidating the clear advantage. Black develops the bishop, improving its scope. Solid, white's clear advantage persists. White prepares queenside pawn expansion. Solid play, maintaining the clear advantage. Black centralizes the queen. Solid, but white's advantage is significant. White centralizes the queen, coordinating pieces. Solid, maintaining the clear advantage. Black repositions the queen. Solid, white's clear advantage remains. White centralizes the queen, exerting pressure. Solid, maintaining the clear advantage. The move the queen to f6 by black is a mistake. A superior alternative was the rook to c7, activating the rook on an open file. Afterwards, the queen takes on d6, executes a favorable trade. Continuing with the bishop takes on d6, compromising the opponent's pawn structure, whereby the pawn to a4 secures an overwhelming positional advantage, unlocking the knight to c8 with highly aggressive threats. This allows the rook on the f-file to c1, guaranteeing long-term space control. The move the rook on the f-file to d1 by white is an inaccuracy. A superior alternative was the pawn to a4, claiming key space in the center, paving the way for the rook to c7, significantly boosting piece coordination, which enables the rook on the f-file to d1 to organize the counteroffensive seamlessly, whereby the bishop to d6 secures an overwhelming positional advantage, unlocking the queen to a5 with highly aggressive threats. This allows the knight to c8, guaranteeing long-term space control. The move the rook on the f-file to d8 by black is a mistake. A superior alternative was the bishop to d6, exerting diagonal pressure to limit the opponent's space, paving the way for the queen to a5, significantly boosting piece coordination, which enables the rook to c7 to organize the counteroffensive seamlessly, whereby the knight to b5 secures an overwhelming positional advantage. Afterwards, the bishop takes on b5, executes a favorable trade. Continuing with the queen takes on b5, compromising the opponent's pawn structure. White centralizes the knight, creating threats. Solid, securing white's strong advantage.